Picture this, stabilizing gunshot victims in Boston blizzards as an EMS pro, then chasing suspects through Florida swamps with your canine partner, only to face the gut-wrenching silence after child tragedy calls that haunt you forever. Meet Mike Hollow, a 17-year Lee County Sheriff legend who traded 6-layer winter uniforms for Sunshine State badges, exposing the raw truth on crumbling hiring standards, skyrocketing officer suicides, and why real leaders get boots dirty, not desks. From EMS chess games with death to co-hosting the unfiltered Lee County Unscripted podcast on trafficking survivors and community heroes, this is Policing Unvarnished. If you're in law enforcement, eyeing the badge, or hooked on cocktails, dive in now. Okay, can you introduce yourself for me, please?
Sure. Mike Hollow,
Mike Hollow. And who did you work for?
Lee County Sheriff's Office.
Lee County Sheriff's Office. For how long?
Total of 17 years.
Okay. You got there, though, in 99, you were in EMS for Boston.
Mm-hmm.
How'd you decide to do that?
So, I worked for, up there it's privatized. All the ambulances up there are pretty much privatized except for the city of Boston. Actually, even within the city of Boston, it's called H&H. It's privatized. So I worked for inside of a fire department, but it was a private ambulance company that I worked for. So I got into EMS up in Boston. You have to take the civil service test to either be a firefighter or a cop. And I just wanted to give myself a little bit more of an edge when it came time for an interview. My dad was a firefighter for 30 years. My uncle was a police chief. Both of them were in the same city. So I knew that's the road I was going early on. There was just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It was going to be something in public safety. So my dad had always encouraged me, go get my EMT license. And I did. And I had a blast with it. It was probably one of the funnest jobs I've ever had.
Why?
You have to be able to show up on scene, identify what's going on, and treat them before you get to the hospital, right? Make them stabilize. Like, yeah, you get the regular cold flu, that type of stuff, but I'm talking like serious trauma. When you get someone that's like serious trauma, you got to be able to figure out what's happening really quickly, what's going on, start whatever it is that you need to get going, and then get them treated into the hospital. It became like a chess game, almost. Like you have to think ahead, and I love that part of it, being able to identify it and then confirming once you get to the hospital, like, hey, this is what I think it is, and then come to find out you're either right or wrong. And if you're wrong, why was I wrong?
Okay. Are you from the Boston area then?
I am. Yeah, I was born and raised up there.
Okay, grew up there, the whole thing. Not much of an accent now, though.
Every once in a while, it'll come out. Certain words will pop out, I promise you. Yeah, certain words will come out.
Okay, so from the very beginning, was it always either law enforcement or fire department?
It was. Honestly, it was whoever hired me first. That's where I was going. Like, my heart was law enforcement. I don't know why. My dad tried to push me to the fire side, but honestly, he's like, go wherever. Whoever's going to hire you, go with. Because up there, once you're with an agency, you typically are there for forever. Mm-hmm. I got tired of the snow. I was like, I am sick and tired of shoveling 3 feet of snow 4 times a week, and I got the heck with that. So I moved to here.
But how long were you EMS in Boston though?
4 years.
4 years, but then didn't you go and?
Yep, I went and worked for the state as a police officer for 2 years.
Okay, so what'd you do as a state officer up
I was
there?
a police officer.
But was it Boston? Was it what department?
It was University of Massachusetts.
Okay.
Yeah.
University of Massachusetts. So did you ever think about going to like Boston PD, something like that, or that just kind of fell into your lap? That was the first thing that came along.
Fell in my lap. That was a stepping stone.
Okay.
That's all I wanted it to be. It was never more than that.
Okay.
I was utilizing the experiences to make myself more marketable.
What was your ultimate goal? Where did you want to go from there?
Here, actually, Lee County. I truthfully, when I got sick and tired, I was writing someone a citation one day. My pen froze, and I said, F this, I'm done. And you know, in the wintertime, you had to have 6 layers of clothing on. Like, you had pants on underneath your uniform pants, and you had to have a long sleeve shirt on. And before you get out of the car, you turn the heat up high because you didn't want to get back in, and gloves. And then once you get back in the car, you're like, oh my God, I'm sweating my ass off. So now let me turn everything down. I didn't want to play that. I was miserable. I didn't want to do it.
Okay, so I think it's interesting. So I've talked to a lot of New York guys, and you strike me sort of like the East Coast of, obviously East Coast, same type of thing. You guys always seem to have a gift for gab. Where does that come from?
Honestly, I don't know. I think it's just from being a cop, to be honest with you.
Really? So you don't think that had anything to do with your upbringing?
No, I was actually pretty quiet as a kid. I was always the type that would walk in a room and I wasn't saying a damn thing to anybody. I was just kind of analyzing everybody. I want to see what was happening, who was who I thought the players were, who were not, who the people. Like I analyzed the heck out of everything. And it wasn't for years. It wasn't until I became a cop. Actually, probably EMS actually, because there you had to ask questions to help diagnose and see what was going on, whether it was of the patient or the family. And you had to ask questions, and the more questions you got, or the more questions you asked, you got more pieces of the story. And I had to create this mental story in my head, and I wanted the full completion.
How old were you when you started with EMS?
I was 20 years old, I believe.
Okay.
Give or take, yeah.
So you do that for 3 or 4 years, and then you become a police officer at 23, 24?
25. So I think I was 21 when I became EMS, because I was 25 when I became a police officer, and I came down here when I was 28.
Okay. So at 25, tell me what the experience is up there. Do you have to go to the academy?
I did. I had to do full-time military-based academy. Okay. Yeah, we were running anywhere from 3 to 9 miles pretty much every single day. It was intense. It was all singing, like there was 50. We started off with 55 people in our class, dropped down to 52, and we're running in the winter. So my academy ran from December to May, so 6 months, and we would sing cadence running through cities and towns together, all 50 of us, and there was no joke. Bag drills. You had to park a certain way. Everything was sir, yes sir, ma'am, no ma'am. If you didn't, there was hell to pay, and I love that. I think we are way too soft now.
So that's interesting because you had no prior military.
No.
But you ate up that experience.
Loved it.
What do you think it was about that you liked?
It was the foundation. Right? You had to be able to, in law enforcement, and I didn't know this then. I had an idea growing up, but we didn't know what it was really like to be a cop because we weren't then, right? So it wasn't until years later you're like, holy shit, what they were doing to me in the academy set me up for the future, right? Yeah. And we see it today where there's civilians that are in officers' faces and yelling at them. Well, I got yelled at during bag drills like a drill instructor. And I had to maintain my composure, right? I didn't know what the life lesson was then. I knew what it was years later. And for that, I am eternally grateful.
Yeah. How big was the department that you ended up going
to? Up there?
Yeah.
I think we were only like 30.
30?
Yeah.
So you're not talking about you clearly don't have a homicide unit or robbery unit.
No.
What's your primary responsibility?
Patrol.
Patrol?
Strictly patrol.
Okay. When you start, are you on a 2-man? Do you have an FTO?
We did, yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Very similar to down here in Florida. We started off with that FTO,
okay.
Go through the FTO process, and then you're solo.
Okay.
We were solo.
So when you go on solo your first time, do you remember that? Are you scared? Are you nervous? Are you excited?
I wasn't, and I think part of that I attribute to my EMS days, right? Because I had already responded to thousands of calls. I've been on serious incidents, so my first car chase up there was like, all right, whatever, no big deal. I know that's shocking that I was in a car chase, Mark, but...
Okay, so essentially it's the weather that drives you out.
It was.
You come down to Lee County. Why Lee County? Because I just, there's so many counties. Why specifically do you pick this county?
This is going to sound really dumb.
Okay.
Because the Boston Red Sox played in Fort Myers. I didn't know shit about Lee County. I didn't know how to get around. My first assignment was Lehigh Acres. I didn't know how to get from my house in Cape Coral to Lehigh. We didn't have smartphones back then. Literally had the map that you had to turn, like you're playing bingo, G5, G, there, okay. And that's how I had to figure out how to get around.
Okay.
I had no idea how to get around.
when you come down to Lee County, is it the sheriff's office, or do you put in applications for a whole bunch of departments down here?
I only put applications in for the sheriff's office and Cape Coral.
Why only those two?
Because I was dumb. It turned out to be blind luck, to be honest with you. I wanted to be at the sheriff's office. Back then, I saw what the opportunity was. And you have to remember, like, coming from up north, the sheriff up there only handles the jail.
Right.
The state police handles everything. And recognizing down here that the sheriff is kind of what the state police are up there, where they're in every single town and community, and like they can go pretty much anywhere they want to. And I knew Florida Highway Patrol, but I didn't want to be on a highway, and I didn't want to do citations because that's what the culture was back then. So I didn't want to do that. I wanted patrol. I loved patrol. I loved what I was doing. So I wanted to be. I wanted the opportunity. And I knew it was a young department in the size in reference to the size of the county, and that it was growing. And I knew there was an opportunity to be able to move in advance.
That's interesting. So did you do a little bit of research beforehand? How did you know? I mean, you picked a office or a sheriff's department, sheriff's office that had homicide, had aviation, had everything. Did you know that, or did you totally lucky?
I didn't know all of the departments they had. Like a Marine unit, like I'm not a boater, so like the idea of going on a boat, like and be a Marine guy, no, I didn't know anything about ag. My idea of like seeing a cow was in the grocery store. We didn't have cows up in Boston. Like that's the reality of it. But so I didn't know every single department that the agency had, but I knew they had a lot, and I knew they had a canine unit, and that's where I wanted to be.
Oh, so when you started that was what you were thinking was your goals. The
canine was in my head from the time I was a kid.
Why?
The idea of working with, I don't want to say something because it's not a something, but working with something that is going to be with you through thick and thin and never going to leave you no matter what, and to be able to understand what they're telling you. Like, you want to talk about nonverbal communication. Canine handlers and dogs have the true, like the good teams have the best nonverbal communication. And, you know, it's no different than like, there's a lot of officers or people that when they want to get their child's attention, that child is ingrained to a certain whistle, right? Like I do it to my kids, and like even to this day, and they're older, I can whistle and we can be in a crowd of 5,000 and they will hear that whistle and they know what it means. And but same thing with the dog, and like to be able to go and take an animal and go find somebody, like, yeah, that's the ultimate game of hide and seek. I want to play that. I want to do that.
Give me an idea of a relationship between a dog and a dog handler when things are working perfectly, right? You come up on a suspect and you and the dog are sitting there. Can the dog sense like, oh, we're going to go any minute? Or is the dog taking cues off you? If you're sort of nervous, how does that relationship work?
All of the above. As a new handler, like if you're nervous, the dog is sensing it, and like you can be a weak handler and a really strong dog, and the dog is gonna regress down a little because of the handler being so weak. As the handler improves their skill set, the dog will go back up because they have that DNA. I knew my mindset every single time I showed up was we were finding somebody, and we weren't leaving until we did. We're either gonna be exhausted, where we're both dragging, or we're finding somebody. Whether it was somebody that just committed homicide, robbery, GTA, or a missing child, right? Like it didn't matter. I wasn't leaving until we found them. And I actually remember one of the calls, somebody fled. I don't even remember what they fled for on foot. Like they took off. It was common down here. I remember telling the perimeter units, and I was really vocal as a canine handler. Like I didn't care if you were a deputy or you were the damn sheriff. That was my scene. I'm going to control it. Didn't make a difference to me. I didn't care if I pissed you off. I didn't care if you were my child and I yelled at you on scene. Like that was going to happen, right? Because people are like, oh, he just ran. I don't give a shit. What did he run for? Let's go find him. That's what we're going to do. But I remember there was a deputy that's like, oh yeah, he fled on foot. We have a perimeter. And I'm like, just hold what you have. We'll find him. am sure than like within 10 minutes. Me and that dog, we were like, I was really fortunate to have two solid dogs. The second one was probably superior in a lot of aspects than the first one. For me, he was like the Michael Jordan.
Both of your dogs bite dogs, or they
Yes.
bite? How about narcotics dogs as well, or just
So
bite
my
dogs?
first one was a patrol bite dog with narcotics. My second one was patrol with bombs.
Do you think that having a dog with dual purposes, is it harder or easier? Like the dog is just a bite dog and just knows what it's that, hey, we're just going doing this. I guess it's more up to you, right? You're the handler, so you gotta.
Yeah, like as a bomb dog,
Uh-huh.
as a secondary, like as a having his second ability as bombs.
Yeah.
Like there wasn't a lot of normal calls that would encompass that, right? Like anytime the president came in town, which happened a lot, whether it was Obama or President Trump, we had to do bomb sweeps. We have the Twins and we have the Red Sox stadiums here. We have then it was Germain Arena, now it's Hertz Arena. So like we would do different events, bomb sweeps of different things, but we didn't have a lot of call outs for bombs, even though we have our own bomb team. Like every once in a while you would get something. But the reality is if it's an active bomb call, we're not putting a dog to go determine if that's an explosive or not. Mm-hmm. Right? Like those dogs are preventative. They're not to determine. We have robots and we have guys that are in these big suits that are, they're still subjecting them to harm, but it's not putting a dog. Like we don't need, like if we think it's a bomb, why are we gonna go put a dog on there to confirm that it's a bomb?
Yeah.
Right? Like that just doesn't make sense. It's almost like putting a dog into an active shooter situation. That's stupid.
Right.
You're sending him on a death wish, and we don't do that. This sounds terrible, but I don't care. The drug thing I never got excited about drugs, right? Like if I was stopping you, it's because you were a large level dealer and I knew you were gonna run. Mm-hmm. I wanted to chase you on foot or in a car, because that's what got me excited. Not because of that's what I wanted. I didn't care about the low level drugs. And okay, if I saw someone come out of a drug house, I know my damn dog's gonna alert to the car that he's now sitting in. He was just in a drug house. Of course he's gonna alert to that. I didn't get excited for that. But there are some guys that have the skill set to see a car and be like, they're trafficking whatever. And they have that interdictionness about them. Those guys are skilled. I didn't care for that.
Is the training the same amount? Like, for example, a bite dog versus a narc dog versus a bomb dog. Do you have to put in the same amount of time for each discipline?
No. Patrol side is more than, because there's tracking, there's area searches, there's building searches, there's bite work, obedience. All that has to have it. They all have their hourly requirements. When it comes to EOD or narcotics, there's an hourly, but it's not nearly as high. The dogs pick that up much faster. Mm-hmm. They pick up those odors much faster. And you really only, once they have the odors, then you're just teaching them a search pattern and give them the ability to search on their own.
Now, I'm assuming the more you train with the dog, the better the dog is going to get.
For sure.
What do you think, on average, to have a good dog, how much time are you putting in for training for a good patrol dog?
Every day.
Every day.
Even on my off days.
Hour a day, 2 hours a day?
It would depend what I was trying to do, right? For me, obedience was everything. Mm-hmm. Like you can't have a superstar if you have a shitty foundation. You just can't. So obedience was everything. Like he couldn't eat, he couldn't go outside until I told him he could, right? So obedience was everything for me. And then I would try to do different kinds of obedience to make it, because we would do public demos as well. And yeah, anyone can make their dog sit, lay down, whatever. I want to do more. So like when we do with kids and we're doing school functions, like I want to be able to show them that our dog is more than just a bite dog. Mm-hmm. I didn't want people to be afraid of the dog, because at the end of the day, they are a dog. I never had an issue with my dogs around my kids. I knew once we were home, these dogs, my two shut it off very easily.
Mm. What kind of dogs?
They were both sable shepherds.
Okay. From a breeder?
Yes. Well, the first one came, well, I mean, they all come from overseas in Europe. The first one we got was from a vendor in North Carolina. The second one was from a vendor in Tennessee.
Okay. And do you ever have, I asked Mark this question, any pound dogs that turned out to be phenomenal dogs?
No.
Okay. Why is that? Because I hear some dogs turn out great and some dogs, there's reasons why you don't get pound dogs.
typically once a dog gets subjected to being like the pet life and like being catered to and treated more than just like if you're treating a working dog like a working dog, they want to please and they want to work. They want to be part of that pack. Not that a pet doesn't want to be, but they get accustomed to laying on the couch or laying on the floor and not having to do anything. You put the food down and they just go eat whenever they want to, or they can drink water whenever they want to, or they can just bark with no repercussions. Like, yeah. So once they have that pet life, it's the equivalent for me in my brain. It's the equivalent of a child that has the summer off, or somebody that has the summer off, and now you try to send them back to work, right? Well, you have kids every single day that train themselves through the summertime. But the one that has just been lazy all summer long, he doesn't want to be a professional. He doesn't want to do anything other than like just lay around, right? But the kid or the person that has been training all summertime, he's light years ahead, right? Like, I never wanted anyone to be better than me as a handler. Like I sometimes I was a dick. Like, I'll be honest with you. Sometimes I was a dick on scene. Like, I would get angry at some deputies if they really made a true mistake, because they don't understand the repercussions. It's not just hook a dog up to a leash and run with them. There's so much more to it. Like, when you decide that you want to go on a Lewis and Clark expedition and walk in the woods because you think you heard the lizard walking through the woods and you think that it's the person, well, you just fucked the guy that's coming with the dog. Like, you made it that much harder. Like, I can't say I went from the car door to where I found them because I had to unfuck everything that you just did. So, yeah, I would get mad at deputies. Like, I had zero issue. When I tell you I had zero issues of yelling at deputies, I had zero issues, because I knew the level of training that I put in my dog and that we were going to find people. And if you screwed it up, I'm going to make you better, and that you're never going to screw up again. Because it was about teaching them at the same time. It's not just being a dick and just yelling at them like a disgruntled father or somebody that's like, had a shitty day, take it out on the kid, right? No, like, I wanted to make you better so you could make me better.
Yeah. Some of my favorite videos I like watching are people mid-stride getting tased and then dogs biting people. So, did you ever have a situation where dog's in the car, you've got somebody pulled over, and things are going to go bad, and you have a remote, let the dog out, something like that?
It's funny that you asked that. My last dog bite with the second dog, there was a email that came out for a guy that was burglarizing homes in Lehigh, and he was on a bicycle, and I remember the email that came out, and the guy had a very distinct tattoo and a very distinct bicycle that he was riding around on. And I happened to be driving in Lehigh during the daytime, and I'm like, holy shit, that's the guy. So he's driving eastbound, I go up ahead of him, and I just pull in one of the side streets, and then I just make a U-turn, right? And I'm sitting there waiting for him to come by me. Well, he turns down the same street that I just turned down, and I'm like, okay, well, the dog's in the car, there's some construction workers over here in an empty field, and this guy's running by me. I stop him, we have a little discussion, it doesn't go well, he ends up punching me in the face, and we have like a true fight. He gets out of my grasp, and then I run down and I tackle him. And now we're probably maybe 100 yards away from my car, maybe 50 to 100 yards away from my car. Like, I'm not a small guy. This guy was army crawling with me on his back, and he just like taking everything I could possibly give him. And I'm like, holy shit, I'm tired. Well, for whatever reason, my radio wasn't working, so I couldn't communicate to our dispatcher. So for the first time in 17 years, or at that time 16 years, I hit my emergency button. I had never hit that thing before in my life. My GPS in my car wasn't working. So when I hit my emergency button, they had no idea where I was at. Nobody could communicate with me. I'll tell you how they found me after. But so as this guy's army crawling away with me on his back, I hit the bailout button for the first time ever. So two firsts happened. Emergency button, and I hit my bailout button. My dog comes out of the car, he sees the two guys doing construction, and I whistle to him because I had trained that. I whistle to him, he head snaps to his left, and he sprints across. It took a little bit, but we get him secured, right? Like I was fighting with this guy for probably about 10 minutes before I could get the dog out, before it was safe enough for me to. But if I didn't do all that work ahead of time, I don't know. That dog probably would have bit the construction guys. He probably would come out, or he might come out looking for a toy, right? A lot of guys will use that bailout button to go play. Well, that's not always what it's about. You have to keep the dog on their toes. And like sometimes it's about, it's time to bite. Sometimes it's to go play. Sometimes it's just to go pee. But you have to teach the dog what you want. It's not just to come out and a constant like bite. If you just use that to constant bite, every time that door pops open, somebody's getting bit then, and it may not be that. So the only reason why they found where I was at is because my son had my GPS location at the time. My son is an active deputy as well. He was able to get on the radio and give what my exact location was, and that's how I got more deputies to me. I have been in a lot of physical altercations throughout the years. I have never been so tired in my life after that. That was I was like, holy shit, this guy is like, good for him. He's in shape. Like he's taking a good one. Like, good for you, dude. But holy shit, I'm tired. Yeah, that was the only reason. And then shortly thereafter, at the time there was a commander. He got on the phone with the district captain, and the district captain comes over to me. He goes, I'm actually going to use his name, fuck it. He's like, hey, Commander Shelley wants to know why your GPS wasn't working. I'm like, well, tell Commander Shelley to go fuck himself. This is a piece of shit equipment. That's the problem. And if he has any balls, he'll come down here and have a conversation with me and not ask me over the phone. I'm good, thanks. And that's the problem, right? Command staff is so concerned with, and it's not just here locally, command staff is so concerned with the newest and greatest and looking great in the public eye and looking great to the employees, but they don't really give a shit because some of them have never been in the shoes. Just because you dress up for Halloween or you dress up every single day doesn't mean that you know what these officers are going through, because if you were on the road 20 years ago, it's nothing what these officers are going through today. And there's too many deputies and too many officers that are silenced. And that's the biggest issue. That's one of the issues. The other is mental health, but we can go down that path too.
Do you think it's fair to say then the people that make good leaders that you want to follow are people that have actually done the job?
Partially, yes. But like I said, somebody that was on the road 20 years ago has no idea what it's like to go out and patrol today. Mm-hmm. They don't have a clue. What they need to do is get out there and still remember what their roots were and where they came from. Get out there. Show up. Don't show up as a commander. Don't show up as a chief. Don't show up as a captain. Show up as a support unit. Let the deputy handle the call, and I'm here to help you. I'm not your commanding officer. I'm here to help you.
That's interesting. You're the first person who's kind of mentioned a solution like that. So even if a guy has done the job, he still has to get out with his troops and just see what's going on a day-to-day basis.
You want to change the mindset, and you want to change the camaraderie, and you want to change the buy-in factor, get out and be a deputy. Show up as a backup unit and help. If you know that there's calls pending and there's deputies getting their asses kicked, answer some of the other calls. Help them out. Show up on, I don't care if it's 2 o'clock in the morning. Don't be one of those leaders that are sitting in a porcelain paradise down in your headquarters, and the only time you come out is to go to lunch and to go home. Get out. Show up at 2 o'clock in the morning. Come in early and help out the men and women that are working the overnights. Show some appreciation for them. Because you did it years ago, I don't want to hear the bullshit of, well, I used to do it, and this is how we... Bullshit. Do it now. Put your money where your mouth is.
Do you think innate leadership is innate or learned?
It's
or
innate.
both?
It's innate.
It is.
It's innate, but you can learn new leadership skills as well.
Okay. How would you go about learning? Is it through books? Is it observation? What do you think?
All of the above. Sometimes it's about learning from, you see someone that does something that you don't like as a leader, don't do that, right? Like if whatever it can be, let's just use the example of they just sit inside their hallway, right? Mm-hmm. And you don't like that as a leader, and you want to get out there and help. When you get the opportunity to help and bring someone up, make the men and women that are below you better than you. Because at some point in time, they're going to have to replace you. If you want to move up or you're going to retire, somebody has to be able to take your spot. And if you did a shitty job as a leader, teaching those below you, then you're not an effective leader.
So later on, you get yourself into leadership positions. Where do you think your leadership skills came from?
Life. Like I had children that were early on in life. I was in public safety early on in life. I was the youngest of 4. My brother was a professional wrestler for WWF. I learned early on, like I wasn't your normal kid. Like I always played up, and you always have these kids that play up in age, right? I trust my gut. That like every cop has been subjected, or EMS or fire have been subjected to it at some point. Even if you haven't, you've had that little hair in the back of your neck and go, well, that's a really shit idea, or I should turn around right now. I just always listened to and I just did what I felt was right. It may have been wrong, and I would have owned it. I didn't do everything right always. If I fucked up, I fucked up. I'll own it. But I always trusted my gut, and I always made the decisions that I felt were right at the time, based on the information I had. But if I learned later on that it was different information, I would make the changes for myself, whatever I needed to do.
How about the skills? Did any of them come from your parents, how they raised you?
I'm sure. My parents always taught me to stand up for what's right, no matter what. It's very easy to see something going bad and be quiet because you don't want to affect your livelihood. It really takes someone that just doesn't give a shit and wants to stand up for the right reasons. And I'm not motivated by money. I'm not motivated by fame. I'm not motivated by material things. I like to be the voice for those that can't be the voice.
You said you were the youngest of 4?
Yes.
What did your other siblings do? Oh, you said one was a WWF wrestler. What did the other ones do? Did anybody else go into service like you did?
No, I was the only one.
Why do you think that was? You said your dad was fire department, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Why do you think nobody else did it?
I don't know. That's a great question. Actually, I take that back. My oldest brother, from the time he was young, like I was probably like 5 years old. He is 8 years older than me, so he was like in his teens. I remember him always talking about wanting to be a WWF wrestler. He achieved that goal. He wrestled in WrestleMania. He now owns his own wrestling school, and he trains guys for WWE now. My other brother, so my oldest brother, my other brother, and myself, we all worked in construction at some point in time together. Growing up, like that was one of my first jobs, was being a laborer. Being part of a union up in Boston, up in Massachusetts, like that, like it was just understood, right? It was, you did something with it, something affiliated with the union. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So I was a laborer early on with both of them. That brother, the one that's in between myself and the older, he worked for he works for Verizon. He's almost ready to retire. He did construction, and he hated construction, so he went and got a job at Verizon, and he's worked his way through. He did both jobs for a very long time until he was ready to make that leap. My sister has had multiple jobs. She now lives down here and does work at a local sheriff's office as well, but it wasn't until she left Boston that she came down here and worked for a sheriff's office on a civilian side.
Okay, I'm going to go off on a little tangent here because I didn't see this one coming. Who is your brother? He wrestled in WrestleMania? Who is he?
He did. He actually wrestled in Toronto. He wrestled Rick Martel. I think it was WrestleMania 3. Don't quote me on that one. But he used the name Mike Hollow, actually.
Wow. Okay. All right. Very cool.
You can Google him. You'll see him.
All right. We'll throw a picture up. Okay. Getting back to your career. When you start with Lee County, do you have to start in the jail?
No, because I already had road experience.
Okay. So you're immediately on patrol.
Yep. I wouldn't have gone to Lee County if I had to start in the jail.
How does it work if you already had your police experience, you get down here, you're on patrol, did you have to go to any sort of academy? How does it work?
So because my primary academy was up in Massachusetts. Mm-hmm. In order to come down here to Florida, I had to take the equivalency, which was a 2-week course, which everyone has to take if you come from another state.
Okay.
And then you have to pass the same state exam as those that do a full academy here.
Okay.
So I did my equivalency up in St. Pete. I took the test and I passed.
So give me a difference between patrol in Boston in full sweatpants underneath your pants as opposed to patrolling down here in officer dangle shorts.
I would never wear shorts. That's terrible. That's number one. That goes back to my academy days, right? Like, they were very meticulous about our uniform had to be in order. If you had any, lint or strands on your uniform and you didn't burn them off, or your shoes weren't polished every single day, like, there was hell to pay. We ran enough. I didn't need to run more or do more push-ups. So I took the uniform very serious. Like, my uniform was always squared away. I didn't care if I went home looking like a bag of shit at the end of the day because I worked, right? And I got dirty. I'm okay with that. It's when I showed up, because that's the first thing. If an officer shows up and they look terrible, they're not going to get the respect from the community or the bystander or whoever called, right? That's just not going to happen. They may respect the uniform, the badge a little bit, but they're not going to get the same. Whereas you get someone that shows up and they're just squared away and you're like, holy shit, I'm not messing with that guy. That's your first opportunity to kind of diffuse what's going on. So yeah, look, wearing shorts, absolutely not. But my going from up, so the biggest difference I think working up there to here was here, like out in Lehigh, we had 5 people for 110 square miles. You either better learn how to talk or fight, because it's going to go south at one point in time, and your closest backup might be on the other side of Lehigh, or whatever district it was at the time. You better learn how to diffuse things very quickly, and that actually, I think, helped me as far as my gift to gab as well.
So I would have thought, with all the little units that you had within Lee County, that the department would be a little bit bigger with a little bit more backup. So your closest backup when you were out was how far away, do you think?
It would depend. We only had 5 people that were working. There was 5 zones. We had 1 in each zone. Every once in a while, you would get someone that was going through training, so you'd have an alpha zone. So you may have a total of 6 people that were working, not including the sergeant or any of the specialty, like not the K9 unit or the traffic guys, because every once in a while they would pop up over in there as well. But you could have 2 guys that are handling a domestic 2 streets over from you, but they're tied up and you're handling another domestic by yourself, or whatever it is, a burglary or an in-progress call. And not everyone has the same work ethic. So, somebody could sit on a paper call and not clear that paper call while there's other calls pending because they're about themselves and they want to take care of that paper call. Where you could just throw it on the dashboard, get to it later when there's time. So you could be, anywhere from 5, 10, 15 minutes away from your nearest backup. You could be 10 seconds, but you just.
How far along in your career with Lee County was it before you became a K-9 officer?
I was actually really fortunate. So because I had experience, I was on patrol for a few years, and then I went to major crimes as a detective. And I was in major crimes for a little bit, and then I had the burning desire to. So that was 2007. Our robbery here in Lee County, we were getting inundated with a ton of robberies. That's when the construction was booming. Right before the bubble happened here, the housing bubble happened here, we were getting a ton of robberies that were happening on just for various reasons. So the sheriff at the time, Mike Scott, he created this unit that was targeting. It was actually victims and suspects of robbery, right? Like if you were committing a crime in Lee County, whether you were a potential victim, you were going to jail. Like the easiest way, like we just went to areas throughout the county and we lit it up and we just took it over and we just suppressed that. Well, from there, I was able to get a K9 and go get my first patrol dog.
Well, what I find interesting is one of your first assignments is major crimes, which is robbery and homicide. And for most people, that's like the pinnacle. But that's not the pinnacle for you. I mean, it was canines for you,
It
right?
was, right? Like, there's some guys that, like I said, they excel in interdiction. They excel, like, their life. They want to be a homicide detective. I wanted to be a homicide detective because I wanted the experience. I wanted to be able to solve. It goes back to that chess game, like in EMS. I wanted to be able to put that whole story together and be the voice for the decedent, to the family, and to the prosecutors and stuff. I wanted to be able to represent that decedent. But that wasn't my passion. My passion was canine, 100%, and it still is.
When you were in the robbery, homicide, major crimes, how many homicides did you actually investigate?
So then it was different, right? Like, we would have, it wasn't just necessarily homicide would get a call and show up. It would, if it was a homicide, like, you would have all of major crimes, which was sex crimes, robbery, homicide, violent crimes. They would all, actually, homicide and violent crimes would kind of merge together as well. Everybody would show up. And we would show up and we would just do our job of, like, helping out. It wasn't like, oh, this is your unit, I'm not going to help you. We all knew what our role was. Like, if it wasn't my turn to, or my job to, I wasn't the lead detective, like, I knew I had to go out and canvass the neighborhood and find witnesses or find surveillance or whatever. It was truly teamwork back then, where now I feel like it might not be. It's all about, let me solve this so I can make myself look better for the command staff that wants nothing but dog and pony show.
One of the assignments you had was internal affairs. How often, how long were you in there?
I was in internal affairs for 4 years? I think it was 4 years.
So in those 4 years, how often did you investigate somebody that really needed to be fired?
Often. But the flip side of that too was the ones that had to be fired, like, those are easy, right? Like, that evidence was crystal clear they needed to be fired.
Right.
What about the ones that didn't deserve any type of discipline? Because that was also my job, and the job of those that I worked with was to prove the innocence as well. Like, sometimes we didn't have body cameras back then. So to take and put together the whole entire piece of the story for the officer that did nothing wrong, or maybe not as egregious as what is being alleged, right? To be able to prove their innocence was equally as important to me as getting rid of those that disrespected the uniform in the first place.
I hear a lot of, and I know this happened within my agency on occasion as well. How often did it ever happen where you went, yeah, this guy probably needs to be fired, and then it was kind of covered up and nobody got fired for it?
I can tell you, under Mike Scott, if you did something criminal, or you lied, or so egregious that it brought a disdain to, or a disgust to what we represented, you were fired. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It wasn't until the end where there was a couple where somebody shouldn't have been fired, and this is actually what really pissed me off with him. We worked and we proved that the employee. So it was a local baseball coach, and the employee that worked for us was a civilian. Her husband didn't like the baseball coach, so he drew something on a wall and referenced the baseball coach in a derogatory term. Completely fucked up. Like, husband, yeah, but not an employee. But because it got media, it picked up in the media, the employee got looped into it, even though she had no idea what her husband did. And we proved that time and time again. And the response I got was, we're just going to fire her because we know she's going to get her job back. And for me, that pissed me off so much, because you put a woman and her family through hell. Yes, baseball coach got put through hell as well. But this employee didn't deserve to be fired because you were trying to save face in the media. That's bullshit. That's self-serving. You forgot who you are. You stopped showing up as backup. You stopped showing up to help the deputies. So that pissed me off. And that was the beginning of, I'm not going to represent or stand up for that command staff. And that's when I went out and became a watch commander.
During your time in internal affairs, did they have body cams, or they were just so they didn't have body cams?
No, they didn't get body cameras until within the last 4 years.
Knowing what you know
3 years.
now, do you think body cams help in those situations, those other situations where you're trying to exonerate people? Do you think they help?
I think body cameras are great. I think they're a great tool if they're used appropriately, right? Like, unfortunately, there's too many command staff members that want to loop in live just to see what the employee is doing, and that's bullshit.
Oh, I didn't know you could do that.
You can.
Wow.
And it's bullshit. You know, whether it, like, I don't want, if I'm talking to my spouse, I don't want command staff listening to my phone call. Yeah, I can, and they weren't even allowed to take the body camera off to have that phone call. So do I think body cameras are a great tool, as long as you understand the limitations of them. They're not going to show you they may not show you a true depiction of what really occurred because of the angling or whatever. But I think they actually help disprove and showcase that the officers do a far better job, and I think complaints actually go down.
Okay. We're on the subject of you going to watch command because you're, essentially pissed off of what's going on with leadership.
Yeah.
Do you have an opinion, the difference between a police chief and a sheriff? One gets elected, one gets appointed. Do you think one situation is better than the other? Because I'm torn one way or another. One gets voted in, so you're beholden to the people. One gets appointed, but then, hey, you got to mind your P's and Q's, or else the city council is going to fire you. So I don't know. What do you think?
I think they both suck, but they're both great too. Just to be blunt, I do. There's some great sheriffs in this state and across the country. There's some great police chiefs, but there's also some shitty ones too, on both sides. Just like there's some really good police officers and there's some really shitty police officers too. I think it goes back to your foundation, and if you stay true to who you are and what that badge and that uniform represents, if you stay true, and the other side of that coin is if you surround yourself with people that are not yes men or yes women and will call you out on your bullshit when you make a mistake, like, hey, that's really fucked up, you shouldn't do that, right? Or I don't like that decision because of this, this, and this, and you don't hold that person, like, you can't have everyone just say yes to you. You have to have someone that's going to play the other side of the coin and devil's advocate with you, because it keeps you true. Because at some point in time, someone's thinking exactly what that other person was just thinking, and you got to have an answer for it. I don't want someone that's, if I walk in a room and I have employees that are like, yes, 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 give me the person that's going to tell me I'm an idiot. Because I want to know why you think I'm an idiot, because that means someone in the public thinks I'm an idiot. Let me be able to solve your answer first, and now I'm good.
Yeah.
Because that's keeping me true. And if you're not willing to keep yourself true, I don't care if you're a police chief, if you're a sheriff, I don't care if you're some other type of politician, you suck.
When you went to become a watch commander, what were your responsibilities at that point?
I oversaw, myself and another watch commander oversaw the county, the entire county. So every single deputy that was working at nighttime.
What was your biggest challenge at that job?
Command staff, right? Like it's always, they want to play this, sit in the palace and like, well, the deputy should have done this, this, and this. Well, you weren't there. How about we ask the deputy why they did A, B, and C instead of saying they should have done X, Y, and Z? Maybe we should try that first. Is it a training thing? Is it an education thing? Or is it just they truly made the right decision and you just didn't like the response that they came up with? Just because you want to do it one way doesn't mean they did it wrong. But because they did it their way, like we had a deputy who arrested a commissioner's secretary for DUI. He got punished for arresting a commissioner's secretary. He got punished for it. Sanctioned to go work on a damn ice cream truck. This man lived, breathed everything DUIs. He was really good at his job. And he still is. but because you didn't like the political ramifications coming from the commissioner or what popped up in the media, you're going to punish the guy? What does that say to the rest of the men and women that are working their asses off? If I do my job, I'm too going to go serve on an ice cream truck? That's the problem with I can't even call them leaders. They're managers. They're dictators.
Mm-hmm.
Leaders try to bring other people up. Managers handle situations.
Okay, so with that being said, how do you fix a problem with that? If your command staff sucks, how do you deal with that? Or are you just gonna have to freaking wait them out?
Partially gonna have to wait them out. But my job as a watch commander at the time was to keep everyone go around and show up on calls and back people up and keep the morale up. And have genuine conversations and allow people to speak freely and not punish them for being and speaking freely. They have to know that and feel that they have your support, right? Like as a watch commander, you're in the middle. Like I have command staff that is saying one thing, I have road patrol deputies and sergeants that are saying something else. If I believe and they're doing the right thing, I don't give a shit what someone up there says. And that's part of the problem when you have a sheriff, is it's political. People are afraid to stand up for what's right. Because I may be in this position now, but if I don't go along with the political agenda that you have, you're going to move me over there and I'm going to be put on Christmas Island. Whereas a police chief, most of the police agencies around here have unions. Not that they're as strong as up north, but they still have some type of recourse, where most of the sheriffs here do not. Or at least Lee County does not.
Mm. So in 2016, you basically have a 3-year break. You stop working for the sheriff's office, and then you come back in 2019. What was that break all about?
I owned several businesses then, and I wanted to focus on those businesses and grow them. I am a big proponent of police officers having a plan B of, if you live, breathe, and sleep the uniform, you're setting yourself up for failure. I'm not saying don't be great and try to be the best that you can be. Have something else that you can fall back on and change the mental picture in your head where it's not just cop world. Because at some point in time, you're going to have to take that uniform off. And if you don't know how to transition to real world, you're in trouble. So, or if you get into an accident and you can't provide for your family, what then? What do you think that mental picture is going to be in your head then? So have something else that you can fall back onto that's not cop related. I think that's why you see so many firefighters have second jobs that aren't fire-based, right? Like they have some type of specialty that they are all in. Is it because they have more hours or more days off? Possibly. Or are they just smarter? That may be true. But at the end of the day, they have an outlet that's not cop related. So I went and I focused on businesses. And the only reason I went back was my son, when I retired in 2016, he was 3 years into the Army. And then I remember it like it was yesterday. It was Christmas of 2018. He called me out of the blue and said, my only regret in life is I always wanted to work with you on the road. And I'm like, you suck. You're an asshole. Because he doesn't know that a couple of weeks before that, the current sheriff was soliciting me to come back. And I didn't want to originally. So I did, because I wanted to work with my son. And I wanted to just go back to my roots. So when I went back, my only requirement was I want to be back with the dog, working calls as a patrol deputy. Send me back. I don't want any rank. I want to be back on the ground, working with the dog again. That was my only requirement. So my son gets out of the military. He goes to the police academy. He gets hired, and I'm working with the dog. Like this is great. I am fantastic. Like life is good. I can do this forever until my body says F you. So he eventually, like I said, he gets hired. He got hired. He went to the police academy, and he's working today. Ironically enough, my second dog, my son is working him today.
So you did get to do a patrol with your son, work the streets?
I did. We appeared on Cops together.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. So my patrol dog that I had for 4 years, I was able to turn him over to my son, and my son has been working him for the last 3 years. It's something that's never happened. And I mean, maybe there's a canine guy somewhere, or a canine girl somewhere that has experience, but I have never heard of a father giving the same his dog to his son or daughter to work as well.
Yeah. Do you think your son went into law enforcement because of you?
Yes, 100%. 100%. I tried to stop him. I did. I told him, don't do it.
Why? Why'd you stop him? Why try to stop him?
Because he's like me. He's like me in one aspect. The filter is really hard to turn on. If something doesn't pass the sniff test, we're going to call you out on it. He's better than I am because I really have no filter. He's better than me because he does have somewhat of a filter. And he can play the game better than I can. I just don't deal with BS. I hate it.
You got your master's degree in criminal justice.
I did.
Why did you do that?
2 reasons. It was also part of my plan B. If I got hurt or something happened to me, I wanted to be able to make a livelihood. I knew I could go teach and become an adjunct professor. So at one point in time, I did become an adjunct professor, and I taught here locally at one of the colleges for like 3 years. But also it was free, right? Like the sheriff's office paid for my master's degree. They paid for my bachelor's degree and my master's degree. Why the hell would I not? Why wouldn't I take advantage of that? If it's something that's available to you and you don't take advantage of it, shame on you. Somebody's gonna take advantage of it. Take advantage of it. Set yourself up because, like I said before, cop work, at some point in time, you're gonna start putting a uniform on. And you need to be able to do something or know how to transition.
Can you relate the story? We were talking about this before we started. And I think cops don't understand this. When you're on the job, you get X number of calls per day. Mm-hmm. Can you just kind of relate what we were talking about?
On which part?
Well, the fact that it's kind of make sure you have a life away from law enforcement because, you know, when you're with law enforcement, 20 calls a day. Yeah. When you retire...
Oh, yeah. Oh, I thought you meant like calls for service. Yeah, so here's what nothing teaches you, and there's nothing in the academy, and law enforcement community does a really piss poor job. It's gotten a lot better in one aspect, but nobody teaches you that when you take that uniform off, even though you hear sheriff say, oh, we're family, we're brotherhood, we'll do anything for you. Fuck you, no you won't. No you won't, because the day I retire, you don't give a shit, you've already had me replaced. That's the reality. And you know, you're working with zone guys and girls and you have zone partners and you guys you click and all that stuff and you have hundreds of or you guys talk to each other 10, 15, 20 times a day, and the day you retire, it goes down to 2 or 3 people are now calling you to check on you. And then eventually it goes down to 1 or none. Yeah. Because you're not important to those people anymore. So the whole we're a brotherhood, bullshit. Bullshit. I'll give my life for anybody. And I know there's 1,000 other cops that will do the same thing. But we're not a brotherhood in the sense that we take care of our own after we're done working.
Yeah.
And that's really sad. And that's why, like, I never understood why alcoholism and divorce were so high in law enforcement. Never understood it. I do now. I totally do. You're left, you know, when someone works at a company for 20, 30 years, whether some type of private company, right? They retire, they're left with all the good memories that they got to live day to day with their coworkers, right? They remember the happy stories, the funny things. We retire, we're left with the shit that we dealt with 20 years ago, and now we no longer have anything suppressing it and putting a lid on top of that pot. And now the pot's boiling. The stuff we dealt with 10, 15, 20 years ago is now starting to pop up again. And nobody teaches you that in the academy, or there's no foresight to have these conversations early. and we do a really bad job of critical incident debriefing after the fact. The sheriff's office sucks at it. The only time you truly have anything is on officer-involved shootings, and it's just a formality. But anything else, like you show up to a baby that's not breathing or drowned, or because we do have kids that die, or a violent car accident, there's nothing. There's nothing. So now when we retire, not only do we not have the camaraderie and the brotherhood that all these police chiefs and sheriffs say that we have, and like, hey, we're all one big happy family, we no longer have anyone calling to check on us, and we're left with our own thoughts. And that's why the alcoholism and suicide rate, like we have more officers that die because of suicide than are killed in the line of duty every single year. And that's depressing and should be handled on a national and a state level.
How did you deal with it, both on the job and then when you retired?
I was really lucky. Again, this might be blind luck, but because I had a plan B and I had other jobs that I was doing and other businesses and careers that I was doing in conjunction with, when I took that uniform off, just like when I brought the dog home and he knew home was home, he shut it off. The moment I took the uniform off, I was no more the cop. I was no more the deputy. Yes, I would have people like, oh, you show up to an event and that's the deputy or that's the cop. No, I'm not. I'd introduce myself. If someone asked what I did, I didn't say I was a deputy. I worked in real estate. I didn't introduce myself because then it's always that, oh, tell me the worst thing you ever heard. Motherfucker, I don't want to tell you the worst thing I just heard. I don't want to tell you the worst thing I saw, because now all you're doing is you're bringing up 6 and 7 other things that I need to live and I've been able to push away, and now you're making me bring it up, and now I have to tell you the story for your own fucking amusement? No, that's depressing. I don't want to bring that shit up all the time. And so I was really lucky that I had, I'll call it blind luck of being business-minded, business-oriented, where that was my focus.
During your career, 99 to 2024, did you see a difference in the people that were getting hired?
Yeah, absolutely.
And for the good, for the bad, tell me.
Who wants to be a cop today? Right? Like, then it was you represented something that was bigger than you. And it should always be something bigger than you. It should never be about the individual in a uniform. Never, ever, ever should it be about the individual. They pay like shit, their benefits suck, the hours suck, and you're going into a very political situation. Or I could go work at some company, some tech company, and triple my salary on day one. What's the incentive to become a cop? And there's a lot of reasons to be a cop. Like, you either have it or you don't, right? I don't think you should be an interior designer and all of a sudden like, hey, I watched, cops on TV and I want to go become a cop now. No, that's not how that works. You want to do a career change, I understand. And you should want to better yourself. I am all for that. But you got to have the right mindset to want to do that. So I think, the hiring process collectively has dropped drastically. You see agencies that are loosening their restrictions on drug use. Why? Why are we loosening anything? Oh, because we need people to fill holes and positions? So you're just putting, not only now are you subjecting the public to someone that's inferior, but now you're also putting the other deputy or officer that is depending on this one, you're jeopardizing them as well. I thought we were a family. Because if my family calls me and says, hey, I need you here because of this, I'm going to do everything I can to get to them, not send somebody that's not as equal or better than me. If they're less than me, why the hell am I going to send them there? So I think there's too many, you see TikTok, like social media is great. Like I am all for social media, and I am all for highlighting the day-to-day operations of what happens. The officers, right? They deserve that. I'm not for putting out content that is nothing more than a click or looking for likes or trying to create their own impressions on social media for the agency. It's about that individual, right? So, or it shouldn't be about that individual, that chief or that sheriff. But yeah, we've gotten weak. Our physical standards suck. our hiring process, our background sucks, our mental requirements suck. Like we're if you have to, if the only way you can fill bodies or fill holes is by loosening your restrictions, you need to reevaluate. So maybe here's a novel idea. Instead of having 30 people inside command staff row, how about some of you fuckers get out there and start answering calls? How about we do that? You want to change morale? How about you do that? That's a novel concept. Instead of sending a pile of shit out to represent the agency, how about you get out there and understand what's really going on?
Any advice for people that are watching this that want to go into law enforcement?
Law enforcement's great. I love everything I did in law enforcement. You know it if it's in you. You know if it's in you. And if it's in you and it's burning, light the flame. Add fuel to that flame. Go do it. But also understand, it's not what you see on TV. It's not high speed, it's not in low drag situations all the time. There's more to it. There's a science to it. It's just like, it's not just a dog. There's more to it.
Law enforcement affect your family?
Yes, 100%.
How?
Because at some point in time, like the first time I retired, right? I didn't understand, even though I was in business, I didn't understand what some of those calls were popping up going back to my EMS days, right? Like I can tell you right now, 3 children that died on me 3 Wednesdays in a row. I can tell you the date it happened, the location, the address, their date of birth, and their name with no issues. That's not normal. Should not have to do that, right? I saw a stat that said the average person sees 5 to 6 traumatic incidents in their life. And that may be high. The average police officer sees anywhere from 200 to 400 traumatic situations in their life. Why are our politicians not trying to do more for the men and women that represent our communities on a daily basis? Why is there a fight for health insurance from these agencies? Why are we not trying to get on the forefront of everything for them? We owe it to them. Just like we owe it to veterans to take care of our veterans, we owe it to the men and women that are serving our communities on a day in and day out. So yeah, it affected me. Like every officer, my kids know, like, you're not sitting with your back to the door. You're not, like, that's just not happening. We're not going to be out, like, after a certain time. Like, they understand. Both of my kids are now in public safety. I try to tell them both. Nobody wants to listen to me. Fuck do I know?
How about this? Can you look back on your career from when you started and when you retired? Did law enforcement affect the way that you see people?
I'd like to say no, but it did. There's a cynical side. Like, every officer's cynical, right? Like, I'm not fucking shocked. Yeah, like I still walk in like it's in me. I walk in everywhere and I am analyzing everybody. I'm analyzing body movements. The more I'm out of it and the more I get involved in the community, I see a lot of good that happens in this community. We have a lot of amazing nonprofit organizations like the Valerie House or the Children's Advocacy Center. Those men and women that do the work that they do, I see the good. There's some amazing people. But I'm also not surprised at some of the shit that happens.
What's your podcast?
Our podcast, my partner Kim and I, our podcast is Lee County Unscripted.
Okay. What do you talk about?
We talk about everything. We highlight, anything from her and I own our own real estate company. It's called Blue Line Realty, Southwest Florida. We highlight everything, whether it's new communities coming up, nonprofit organizations, two of the ones that I just mentioned here. There was one that we just did of the woman was she was a victim of human trafficking. And so she opened up an organization for human trafficking. We talk about law enforcement stuff. We talk about everything. The best part about it is nothing is scripted. Nothing. Questions aren't scripted. Our guests have no idea what the hell we're going to ask them. It is truly unscripted. Like, it's just whatever comes up at that moment.
So, like, give me an idea. What kind of guests do you have on then?
So we have the founders of nonprofit organizations. We've had people. Actually, she was my cousin. She lives in St. Louis, and her husband, they own their own gym, but they talk about the genetics. They're heavy into genetics, and they own their own vitamin supplements and stuff. They come up with their own, right? And we talk about psychosis, and we talk about everything. There's nothing off limits to me. I'm gonna actually really quickly. You asked what's a good leader, right? This didn't hit me until probably within the past few months. The best example of a leader that I can give you is someone within the church, a priest, a pastor, or something along those lines. And the reason why, like holy shit, like really, there's plenty of Irish Catholic priests that are not fucking leaders, and I agree, they're shitbags, right? But think about it. Like, there was a gentleman out in Lehigh that started his parish back in the 1970s. He had 35 people that showed up on day one. 40-something years later, he grew to thousands. Leaders provide a way for people to follow and buy into the community and buy into the overall, right? That man was amazing. He was a pastor for 40-something years, and he turned it over to another individual just recently. And this is a much younger kid that's 26, 27 years old. But that kid took it from here, and now he's up here. He's not at the level of the original pastor, but he's getting there. And he found another demographic to bring in. So, but he's got buy-in as well. And people are willing to follow. And if people are willing to follow, you can move mountains. And you can move the world. You can take over a city.
Yeah. Mike, thanks for the interview. Really appreciate it.
I appreciate it. It's been great.
Yeah, thanks.
A lot of unscripted stuff there too.